Ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, I received today from Magneto man on eBay. I'm going to give him a good shout out because he was very prompt and this was exactly as described. My spark test gaps. The board had a crack in the top corner which was described perfectly and photographed, so I got no complaints there. I found out the board was big enough that I could just cut off the cracked bit and re-drill it and remount these bits. They were brass, I shined them up a bit. Now I have the proper 5mm gap with a teaser electrode, which we discussed in the first video. And I spent a few minutes polishing it, setting it up with some feeler gauges. I've just laid it on here, connected my leads to the other side there. And I'm going to fire it up. I'll show you a very quick picture there of the eBay item. Again, it didn't take much to clean it up, and I just sliced a bit off the board and drilled everything a bit lower down to get rid of this crack. It's worked really well. So thanks to, how do I close this? Thanks to the Magneto man. Great seller, a handy thing to find and a good price too. And I'm going to fire it up. I think we're still set for 350 RPM, and that's about right. Contact. 340, yep, pretty close. And I'm firing all the gaps nicely, so that's a nice thing to have, and it's going to be built into the mag tester. Next thing to do is to disassemble this, cut some slots in here, some studs, nuts and bolts for securing that down, and mount it all on my big sheet of ply over here, and I'll hopefully be able to get a bit of that done next week. Alright, I just need to part off some 35mm spacers. Just a quick way to set the end of your parting tool. Face the end off, put something nice and square there, and just move that tool until it doesn't quite catch. Right, what I wanted those spacers for was got my big board here. I got my spark gaps here. Just going to mount these like so. Now I think, where are we? There's going to be, yeah, there's going to be enough clearance there between all the live bits and the spacers. Spacers are closer to the ground side, so I don't think we're going to encourage any sparks to take the shortest route down there. I did come on one of those problems that you get when you're designing on the fly, though, that when I put the big metal spacers on the top here, they probably are too close. They're probably going to encourage a spark to go to ground through the spacer in here. So made some plastic ones for the top. There, I got a sheet of Perspex. Oh, it's not pushed down. There we go. A sheet of Perspex just to cover those gaps, to deter us from putting our fingers in there, and a couple of little nuts to run on there. No, I haven't got unlimited time and money to spend on this, so kind of not making it quite as beautiful as I would like. But okay, now the motor and the Magneto are going to mount here facing this way. We'll get to that in a minute. I think it might be kind of cool to make some big brass knurled nuts for these two, so that we can pop them off easily and pop this Perspex off to service the spark gaps as required. So that's what we'll do, because it'll look kind of cool and it'll make me feel a little bit happy with the result. Be kind of in keeping with this as well. And then we'll press on with the rest of it, getting it off the milling machine bed. Yeah, pick up some holes in here, some slotted holes in here, put some studs in probably, and should be good to go. We've encountered our first problem here. There's a spark jumping underneath. A big one. Just shows how much sparks prefer curved surfaces than sharp points. We're going to have to insulate these spaces at the bottom as well. I hadn't realised that was going to jump that big gap. We'll sort that out. It's not a big deal. Just cut here. I've done a bit of further investigation. What it actually was, the teaser electrode had touched the main electrode and it was jumping off the teaser underneath. So I think I've sorted that out now, and hopefully we'll be good. But doesn't look too bad. Okay, I've got my machine working a little bit harder here. I've been watching that Adam Booth again. Anyone who doesn't watch Adam Booth, you really should. A-Bomb79. He is one of those machinists that we should all aspire to be like, even though, you know, I never will be like A-Bomb, but it gives you something to shoot for. It's an excellent channel, awesome stuff on it. I thoroughly recommend it. Alright, after that little bit of heavy milling, well, not heavy by A-Bomb standards, but heavy for me. I get the impression that that milling machine would do the same thing to steel if I had a sharp cutter and a little less feed. The reason I wanted to just leave it all lined up and do these slots simultaneously, because the whole lot was nicely aligned. I've cut the slots. I've put a couple of studs in there, so this part will be able to move backwards and forwards. One or two mags that go on TCM engines have the impulse coupling recessed right inside the mag, so I need to push this up close. So it'll move a little bit on these slots. I'm going to tuck some little guides in here. In fact, the bits of copper that were going to be my original electrodes are a reasonably tightish fit in there. I might just dress the top on the belt sander so that it's a sliding fit here and a tight fit here. They can just sit in here as guides to keep it nice and parallel. Screwed the inverter drive down there. I've shortened the wire a bit, I haven't wired that up yet. My spark gaps are here. It's coming together. Coming together. We'll do a bit more tomorrow. I might make up these little brass nuts. That'll be kind of fun in the lathe. So I'm going to make it look a bit pretty, that end. Only thing I'm not particularly happy with is this welding. I might sandblast this bit, and I don't know, I'd just like it to look a little bit neater. And if they all look like that, I'd be kind of a bit happier. But some look a bit scruffy, scrappy. Should have added a few more dabs at the end or the beginning there. Anyway, we will see. Might get a bigger tungsten and run over it, or run over it having preheated it. Still a lot to learn about welding heavy aluminium. It's not something we do much of. Right, thought I'd have a go at making some knobs for the old machine. I've got a bit of brass here. I'll just cut the keyway out and reduced it to a diameter that's working for knurling. Now there's some great videos on this, but it kind of stands to reason that only some diameters will realign the knurl to like a gear with the pitch of the knurl, if that makes any sense. I'm just not going to try and explain it. It's late on a Friday and my head won't work. But anyway, the pitch of these knurls is written on the gear, and I looked up some diameters that work on the internet, and this diameter is just about working, but I'm discovering that brass sheds a few chips when you knurl it. I'm having to use the airline as it goes to really keep it clean. I'll just run along as far as I can and we'll see what it looks like. That went okay. That's a pretty cool nail. Sim worse. Yeah, get the diameter right, keep the chips out, get the pressure on, go slow and go for it. Slow speed, slow feed. Looks alright. And keep the chips from going back into your knurling pattern. Not bad. Let's make some knobs. Alright, I'm designing on the fly again. It's not always a good idea. Alright, I'm going to make these back to back to make the most of the best part of the knurl there, because the ends are that isn't fully knurled there, and the ends are often a little bit scruffy. So I put my parting tool in the middle where I'm going to part the two pieces to separate them, and then I've gone 350 thou each side. I'm going to plunge in 300. And then I'll take a couple of turning tools, a left and a right hand, and machine those bosses, and then we'll part here and here. No, we won't. We'll drill a hole right through the middle for a 1032 thread, and then we'll part here and here, and break the edges, do the tapping. Well, we'll break the edges and part. I think, Jesus, it's been a long day. You'll get the idea. Big fan of carbide on brass. Not a big fan of carbide on brass because you can't grind it and fettle it for good chip control. Sometimes if you take a big cut in one go just with very light hand pressure, you can control the chips a bit. Alright, I zeroed the DRO for that, so should be able to come back in this end with the same setting. Gee, I can't do anything today. That's near enough. That's kind of work without spraying needles everywhere. These chips are a bit more manageable. Alright, since my D&MG tool's set up at this angle, I'm going to break these edges with it, do the parting. Done job. I've put a 4.1mm tapping drill down the middle. Alrighty. start my tap in there since we're at the lathe. I'll part that one off and I'll start the tap in the next one, and I'll just finish them through with a wrench. Should be good. Finishing off that thread. There we go, we're through it. There we go. Not fancy, but I think that gives it a little touch of class. So it's a functional thing. It's finished, it's bolted to this rack. Magneto tools and bits are in there. Some spare harnesses for testing. It's just functional, it's not meant to look gorgeous. But rid of that. Let's just give it a little run. Contact.